met Mr. Len, he didn't know me and I didn't know him. And I remember it was way earlier. It was probably like 1997, maybe early 97, maybe even late 96. And the indie scene in hip hop had first started. And I was at the old Fat Beats. So the Fat Beats that was on East Third, when you went down into the basement stairs before they moved over to Sixth Avenue and 8th Street. And I just remember being like obsessed with Company Flow at that age. You know, I was in '96. I was just graduating high school, and it was pretty incredible to hear like the original Funk Crusher EP at the time, and I knew it existed on vinyl from Stretch and Bobbito's show, and it was sold out everywhere. And I went to Fat Beats hoping that they would have a copy, and they didn't. And I remember asking, might have been Eclipse, it could have been anybody else that was working the counter about it. And Len was standing right next to me when I asked, and I didn't even know what any of the three of them looked like at the time because this is pre-internet and pre-Herb article, and you know that was the Herb article was the first time you saw what Company Flow looked like, at least that I can remember. And so he was like, "Yo, we're pressing up more. You know, we sold all of them like really quicker than we thought. So something like that, you know. And so we'll have more though, you know." And I was like, "Word." And I left, and I walked out, and I was like, I wasn't clear because I didn't know what they looked like. Like I was like, "Wait, was that one of the guys from the group?" And then like years later, when I met Len, I was like, "Oh shit, that was the dude that told me that in the record store like years earlier." Shows how small like New York scene was then, and like how anonymous you could be. And that kind of brings me to like a couple other quick interactions that I had with him. Like when I first met Len, I kind of hinted at this in the when we talked about patriotism in the first episode of the show. Um, you know, me and Len would like go get lunch or whatever. And I can remember going to like the New York staple of the time, which was Ranch One. New Yorkers from the '90s will remember the Ranch One chain. It's like a chicken sandwich chain. It was right downstairs at Ozone, and we go downstairs and like walked out, and Len was like, "That kid was kind of weird," and I was like, "I don't know, maybe he recognized you." And like I'm 19, and in my world, like Company Flow is like the biggest thing ever, like,
Right.
and they were large, but this was probably even before End to End Burners had made it into like semi MTV rotation, and he just looked at me like I was fucking insane to even suggest such a thing, which maybe he did. I don't know, you know what I mean? And then the other thing I remember of the early times before this album was I remember in passing just talking about um Lil Johnny from the Hospital, and I didn't realize at the time that he had produced like like four full songs, like split production on two others. So basically,
Yeah.
produced or co-produced like six songs off the record. And I don't remember what I said exactly, but I said something in passing of like indicating that I didn't think that he had produced anything on it, and I think I had like I think it bothered him. You know what I mean? Like, and I think it was almost like one of those like, this isn't your fault, but that was stupid. You know what I mean? Like, and I learned like quickly at that point to like not goober out. You know what I mean? Like, I talked a lot in like other flashback sessions about staying in the pocket and like, you know what I mean? Like not sweating musicians and shit. And like the more that you say to people that you're a fan of, the more chance you have of like saying something stupid. So lessons learned there. And my 25-year apology to Mr. Len.
Yeah, that's one thing that I always try and clear up to people, especially particularly with Little Johnny, is there's this big misconception that L did it all.
hmm
Because even I was guilty of that early
hmm
on, because back then that he was the guy. Um, you know,
Right.
so when you learn like, oh, they split a lot of the production, and you know, Len did a lot of some of the stuff himself. It's like, oh shit. So you know, incidentally, Shadows Drown is one of my favorite joints
Yeah,
on that
yeah,
record.
it
So
is.
because it is, even though it's in the vein of the rest of the album, it's something different when it comes along. So
Hmm.
that's why it always stood out to me.